All right, all right. Welcome, welcome. Information is everywhere, but wisdom is earned. Here, a mentor and his student reflect on the lessons that shape character, purpose, and leadership. How are you, Dave?
Yeah, I'm really good, thanks. And yourself? But we had a lot of rain in the last 2 days. Huh? We had
It's nonstop.
up to 200 mil in 2 days, which is a month's rain on the Gold Coast. So a lot of flooding and that, and people helped with SES, but we'll get through it, isn't that so?
Is this normal or not really?
No, I think they said it's something like that's the most rain we've had in something like 13 or 15 years in like 2 days.
And Dave, this weather is normal in the Gold Coast?
No, not so much rain. I mean, we do get quite a lot of rain normally, but I think this is for 13 years we haven't had so much rain in a 2-day period. So it's very unusual. Yes.
Yeah, but I think we need it.
Yeah, we probably do. Well, our dam will be overflowing now, because I saw last week, I looked at the level of the Hinds Dam, which is our main dam, and that was 94%. So after all that rain, it's going to be way over. It can hold more than 100%, but they may have to open the spillways and let a bit out,
Yeah. So, Dave, how was your day?
Yeah, my day was good. I did a little bit of work today, and I didn't sleep that well last night, but
Why not?
I don't know, just happened. I just didn't sleep that well last night. But
Yeah,
I've got a story for you to tell you tonight.
All right. Maybe you were thinking in the responsibility of doing this
Yes.
podcast today.
I did a lot of planning and preparing today. I hope it goes well. I remember what I planned and that. But I wanted to tell you, Caroline and I were walking on the beach down in northern New South Wales about some years ago. And as we were walking along the beach, there was a lot of dead birds on the shore, on the sand. And so we took a picture of the bird, one of the birds, and then looked it up, and it was called the shearwater bird. And so we looked it up and looked up what's happening with this bird, and it's a bird that migrates, and it migrates somewhere like 15,000 kilometers each way, and they come from Alaska and Russia, and they go down to South Australia. But there'd been a storm, and it blew them off their target, and a lot of them were killed. So I started to look up about these birds and find out what they do. And these birds, as I said, migrate 15,000 k's each way. But on the way, they have to drink water. And when they're crossing the sea, they land on the sea and then they drink the salt water. Well, you know what happens to us and animals and birds if we drink salt water, we die. Isn't that so?
I think we dehydrate and something else, no?
Yeah, and we can die from that. So what they do, what God is amazing and found out what he's done. He's put a little gland in the top in their head, just above their eye, and the water gets into their bloodstream. It goes up into this gland and it filters the water, and then it takes the salt out, most of the salt out. It can then drink the water, and the salt then comes out of the little holes in its beak, and it pushes the salt out of there. Isn't that amazing? So basically what we call that is a desalination plant.
Literally.
Yeah, we call that. We have one on the Gold Coast as well. They built some years ago, and it cost $1.2 billion. It cost to build that. And every single bird that migrates has got this desalination plant in its beak, in its head, and filter. Isn't that amazing? But then a little bit more. Those birds fly from Russia and Alaska and go to the exact same tree where they were born. They can find it, and the reason for that, it guides itself by the Earth's magnetic field. So it's like a GPS. And I love GPS because I remember the days where we used to use a map book. Maps. Yeah. And I could never do it. Half the time I found that I had the map book upside down. So my sense of direction is not good. But can you imagine? Now, these birds as well, what they do is when they land on the sea, they dive down and catch fish as well. And they dive down between 10 and 70 meters. They can dive down, catch fish, eat them, and then keep going and get their water and then carry on flying. Isn't that amazing? The way God's created these birds with a GPS and a desalination plant inbuilt into their system.
And Dave, it's true that they half asleep because they are going through so many miles?
Correct, because they're flying so far, they fly continuously, and they have some way of switching off half of their brain, which allows them to sleep for some time and then continue. So that was what God has put into these birds. Isn't it amazing? And they fly 15,000 kilometers each way. So each year they do 30,000 kilometers.
And Dave, do you think this level of perfection is just a random explosion and everything is that perfect?
Yeah. No, that's the design of God, isn't that so? That can't come from anywhere else. God has put that into them, isn't that so?
Yeah, because
God is
how?
amazing. Yeah, God is amazing, isn't that so?
Yeah.
That just doesn't come from nothing, isn't that so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing great comes from nothing, to be
No.
honest.
Shows how amazing God is and what his creation is like. So perfect.
So thank you so much, Dave.
Pleasure.
This is an insight from you. And actually, in the next episode, we're going to start with Dave's insights.
Okay.
So we're going to take some news. We're going to take any random news or information. And we're going to see the wisdom part from that. And we're going to have a conversation and we want to realize what is behind of Dave's thoughts.
Yeah. What about Jhovver's insights as well? We can have as well. Maybe
Of course.
Maybe we can swap one week, isn't that so?
My insights is how not to do things.
No, that's not true, Jhovver. That's not true.
All right, Dave. So today episode is about responsibility. Wow. And studying responsibility, I don't know. I was back in my country when I was a kid. Responsibility was always about the chores, your homework. It was always duty. Duty, but small. Always related with your, I don't know, with your personal stuff. Yeah. But studying today, it was a refreshment because responsibility is a huge call of action. It's a huge call of action. So
good point.
I'm gonna start with responsibility. The definition from Miles Monroe. I love Miles Monroe.
I know you do. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
And he is very good.
Responsibility means to return to the sponsor with all the ability he hid inside of you. The main responsibility of human being is to steward life well, to govern themselves with wisdom, develop their character, care for others, and use their gift, influence, and opportunities for good. And Miles Monroe defines very simple but very, very good responsibility, and he divides responsibility in 3 syllables. So it means return. Spons, so it means the sponsor. And the ability is the capacities. So it means that you return to the sponsors the capacities from you. So
Good.
kind of like that. So Dave, what do you think is responsibility for you?
Oh, well, responsibility is doing the things better than you did them before. The responsibility is taking control of your life and increasing things in your life, changing things in your life, going up and up and up. It's helping other people. Some of those things, I think.
So, all right. So we're gonna start with the first question, and from that we're gonna develop the whole topic.
Okay.
So, Dave, when did you realize that responsibility is not a burden, but actually part of becoming a mature man and leader?
Yeah. So when I was young, I wasn't very responsible, like you were talking about. You gave a bit of a definition of that as well. And so when I was young, I lived with my folks and my mom and dad and that, and I didn't really have to take a lot of responsibility. But when I had to start taking responsibility was when at 17, I was put in the Air Force for 1 year, and there were 20 of us in what we called a bungalow, 20 young guys in a bungalow, and you had to take responsibility for your little area to make sure it was clean, looked after your cupboard, your bed, maid, and all those type of things. But you had a responsibility to the 20 other guys as a whole. But doing that, one day it was the first inspection that we had, and that was a special day because after 6 weeks, it was our first pass we were going to get, but it was our first inspection. And if you didn't pass the inspection, then you didn't get the pass. And I was very concerned that I wasn't going to pass because the lieutenant came in and checked everything, your bed, under your bed, your cupboard, the floor, all that type of stuff. But I found that, as in your question, I found that a burden. It had nothing to do with leadership or anything like that. So I found that a burden. But then I progressed and I became a security guard, and I was guarding the aeroplanes, the fighter jets, etc., etc. And I started to understand responsibility, taking responsibility and doing it well. And then from there, I went to my first business in the motorcar trade, and I found that I never minded taking responsibility. I always wanted to take responsibility. It wasn't a problem for me, and I increased in responsibility over time. So then I took that into my first business, and obviously as the business grew, I had to take more and more responsibility. And that is, as you also, like you said, is not only for building the business, but looking after your staff and your customers and different people as well.
And Dave, what do you think responsibility is so different once you leave home?
Well, I think that's a good question, because what happened with me is when I was about 22, my mom and dad decided to go and live at the sea, and that was about 800 kilometers away. And then I found myself having, for the first time in my life, to fend for myself. And so once you leave school, you start living on your own, you have to become responsible in the things that you do, because if you don't become responsible, then things don't work out in life. So you've just got to, and I'd never really had that before. As a youngster, I didn't have to have a lot of responsibility because I was looked after by my parents in the home and all that. So, but suddenly I found myself that I had to become responsible in all different things, not only in my work, but where I lived, how I looked after myself, all those type of things.
And do you have a moment that you say, I need to be extremely responsible?
Well, I think when I got my first job, and that was in the car trade, and I started working with that boss, and I realized, hold on, I do have talent for business, but I need to be really responsible. I need to be on time. I need to work hard. I need to do a good job. I need to do things well and be responsible for that area, that I have to be responsible for that area that I'm running, and make sure that I do it well, and that the bosses in the company will see that I'm not only trying my best, but doing my best and being responsible and making a difference.
Alternate our scripture with our questions.
Yeah. So I'm going to actually start from verse 20. Now, this is about Joseph in the Bible, which is Genesis, as you said, Genesis 39. I would encourage everybody listening to actually go and study Joseph's life, because we will see how, in a way, when he was younger, he was a bit irresponsible, because he came out and spoke and said to his mother and father and his brothers that they were going to bow down to him. That was the actual truth. But it's just the way that he did it. It was irresponsible. And we know what happened. He was put in the pit and got taken out, sent away with the traders, etc., and ended up in Potiphar's house, and then ended up in jail. So I'm going to read that scripture, but I encourage everybody to read the story. There's quite a lot of chapters in Genesis, but it's worth reading, because what we see there is he went from the prison to becoming second in charge of the whole of Egypt and saving the nation from famine. So verse 20 says, and Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined, and he was there in prison. But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him steadfast love and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison put Joseph in charge of all the prisoners who were in the prison. Whatever was done there, he was the one who did it. So he took responsibility and worked hard. The keeper of the prison paid no attention to anything that was in Joseph's charge. He paid no attention to anything that was in Joseph's charge. So that man, the keeper, didn't even have to worry. He didn't look at what Joseph was doing. He just knew that Joseph took responsibility for everything that was going on in the prison, and he did it well, and there was a great outcome because the Lord was with Joseph, and whatever he did, the Lord made it succeed.
And Dave, to complement that, because it's a perfect story for how to be responsible, but how to be a person that people can trust in them. One of the things that I was learning from responsibility is that when you say the responsibility, the word, it compounds more words, compounds more other values. For
True.
example, when you say a responsible person, you will say is a trustworthy person, is a reliable person, is the dependability. So you can depend upon them. Loyalty, capability. This is huge. Capability. So you trust in their capacities. Accountable, steadfastness, to continue and carry out consistently. Yeah, it's firm and trusted, and stewardship. And if we think about Joseph, he had all of them.
Yeah, he was amazing, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And those are actually all good words that you've brought that come out of responsibility, isn't that so? So responsibility is just not one word. It goes on to many, many other different words and topics and everything, and qualities that people then will have or that you can attain to, isn't that so?
Yeah, it's like the tip of the iceberg. But on the bottom is a lot of foundation of different principles and values. But responsibility is just almost like the title after you meet all those requirements.
Yeah. So what were you like as a youngster? Were you responsible when you were young, Jhovver, or at what point did you become responsible? Because you are a responsible person now.
I think, one story is that my parents, they never help us with homework. Never. Not even when we were kids, nothing. That was our job. So from the beginning, we knew. And my sister and myself, we were always on top of my sister was always like a top 1, 2, or 3.
Right.
I was always on top 1, 2, 3, maybe until 6. But we understood that our main job was study and have good grades.
Good.
That was our main job. So that responsibility. But also another thing that helped me with responsibility is that my parents, my father, he got 2 dogs. And he said, Jhovver, they are yours. They are not mine.
Right.
They're yours.
You look after them.
And I look after them from, I don't know, from age 8 to 17. Yeah.
Good. Well done.
And that creates responsibility. Plus sports. I was going through, I was taking the bus to the whole Bogota, just going to train in the Bogota baseball league. And I was doing some tournaments when I was a kid. So I was by myself, very independent from 9 years old. Plus, at the age of 12, I started, at the age of 13, 14, I start military training every Saturday.
Wow.
And then at the end of my high school, I became the major cadet. So I was in charge of the whole school. I think I had to be responsible. I didn't have another option.
Another choice, yeah. But yeah, you were very responsible. But in a way, what happened is that your mom and dad didn't force you to do things.
No.
But you took on responsibility yourself, which is great. Now, I was exactly the opposite. I wasn't responsible when I was young at all. I didn't have to be. And what happened with me at one stage is that my mom used to help me do my homework every day.
Naughty.
That was naughty. But what happened is I found that when the exam came, I couldn't take my mom into the exam because she knew she knew everything. And so I didn't do too well. So I had to learn responsibility and all these other qualities at a much older age, probably in my 20s and plus, yeah. So, which is strange. I think it would have been better if I had learnt, it would have been an easier road for me if I had learnt these qualities at a younger age.
But maybe that mentoring one-to-one from your parents, it also helped us as well.
Yeah, look, my mom and dad had a lot of good values as well that I learned from them, like honesty, truth, integrity, all those type of things, which are really part of what we're talking about. But they didn't teach me to or force me to be a responsible person. Then there's a Wilson that we know from the home in Kenya. You know, his dad was killed and his mom ran away and she went to another town with his sister and him, but there was nowhere for him to stay. So at a young age of 6 or so, he lived on the streets, but he was going to school and he heard that if you become the top 3 in the class, you get free books and pencils. So he was always in the top 3. Then he went to the lady who ran the local shop and said, could I just clean up every day outside and then you give me the food that you're going to throw away? So she said yes, but she saw that he was a really hard worker. And then she started giving him little jobs inside the shop. It should hide money in the shop in different places to see if he was honest and whether he would take it or not, which he didn't do. So he earned more money. And then at about 8 years old, he would get on a bus and travel about 60 kilometers and go and buy fruit and vegetables, bring it back, and then start selling it at the marketplace. So he was taught to be responsible, or he's forced to be responsible at a very young age. And today he's a very responsible young man living in Australia for 20 years now and an entrepreneur.
Jordan Peterson, he was one of the major psychologists and famous person.
Right.
He became famous with one of the words like do your bet.
Yes.
And and also take responsibility and tell the truth. But
Yes.
one of the things, so you come to the conclusion that responsibility, it doesn't start saving the world. It doesn't start leading the troops to a big battle. It starts with the little things, taking care of you fully. And once you take care of you, you are able to take care of others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's true. Well, you see, I grew up the wrong way, is because when we were young in South Africa, we used to have maids. Most people had maids. So I didn't have to make my bed every day. I didn't have to fold my clothes or wash my clothes or anything like that. So whilst that was comfortable, but it wasn't teaching me the right way, and I had to learn all these things at an older age. But luckily, I still learned them at an older age. I think I did.
No, you have done very well. Maybe the fact that you had that, you were able to focus in business, in something else.
Yeah, maybe, I think what happened is when the army actually, because we are forced to be responsible, and it was really tough. And that's when, in that year that I was in the Air Force, I grew up, or we all grew up very, very quickly. We went from young boys into men in 1 year. And then from there, taught me that responsibility, being in the Air Force and all that, taught me a lot. And from there, I took off fairly quickly, I'd say.
Because in the military, you have the experience to see that things can get real.
Yeah.
Like if you're not paying attention when you're shooting, you can kill somebody.
100%.
If you're not guarding in a crime sector zone, maybe you can get in trouble. Somebody can attack you. So that's when you realize, actually, everything is. I have to take this seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's not a game.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Because when they used to take us to the shooting range and used to lie down and then shoot, but when you got up, you had to be careful that you pointed your rifle at the ground, not at anybody. And the one guy that we were with, he turned around and he had it up in the air, pointing to the sergeant major who was in charge of the shooting that day, and he nearly got punched or hurt very badly because
he didn't sleep that night for sure.
No, because he got into a lot of trouble, So in those cases, you learn the lesson. You only get one chance, and you learn the lesson very, very quickly.
Yeah, and that's also very strict with that rule. Always putting down, and there is always the distracting one putting up top, and you actually can kill somebody.
Yes, I mean that has happened before. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's when guys or men start realizing, this is getting serious.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, Dave. Okay, we're going for the second one.
Okay.
Do you think modern society is encouraging people to avoid responsibility instead of embracing it? If yes, why?
Yeah, I think there's two sides to that. I think some are and some aren't. And I think if I look at Molly Children's Family, who we've discussed quite a lot on podcasts and that, when I go there and I see the responsibility that the children are given there at a very, very young age, and I see that society there is giving the children responsibility at a young age, and we see that the children do it well. Like you did as a youngster, they do it well. They take it and they run with it because they just have to be responsible. They're living with a lot of other children. They're in school. If they want to do well, they get one chance. You don't get 2 or 3 chances like you do sometimes in Australia and other countries. And they grab it with both hands, and I see they become very responsible at a young age. And then maybe I'll just say, instead of saying a country, in the Western world, it's a lot easier. If you're not really responsible and you want to do this course and it doesn't go so well, you go on to the next course and the next course and the next course at university or whatever it is. and there's no encouragement there to be responsible. And I think we need to teach the young people in this nation and other nations to be responsible. But I think it also comes down, don't you think it comes down as well, to the family that you're born in? Look at your family and how you were encouraged to be responsible, and that's great. Then you get other families that don't encourage or have much to do with their children and don't encourage them to be responsible, and it doesn't work out well for them. What do you think?
Yeah, parenting is an art, to be honest.
Mm.
My parents, they were not perfect, but for sure, they give us a great example of responsibility. And they didn't tell us, this is what you have to do. No, no, no. They were so busy that we couldn't even say how. They are busy trying to progress. So internally, our mission was, okay, we don't need to give them more trouble. We just need to give our best as well because they are doing their part.
And
Yeah.
Colombia is a lot different in a lot of ways from the Western world, isn't that so?
Yeah. And in Colombia, I think you have to be, maybe I was reflecting why I was responsible. Maybe because I didn't have more options. I didn't have a lot of opportunities. So the ones that I was able to grab, I was hold them and use them as much as I could.
Good.
Yeah, because there were not much on the table. It was just one or two. And once you have them, you went all in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to give you an example. Some years ago, a friend of mine and I used to meet with some business people that had had failures in business and that type of thing. And we'd meet with them and chat with them and help them and that type of thing. And I found there was a trend with quite a lot. Some of them did well. They listened and actually started another business and did well. But there was a group of people that had failed and did not take responsibility for the failure of the business. So what they would do, I call it, they would lift the carpet and sweep all the mess of the old business under the carpet and put the carpet down and then say, okay, I'm ready for the new business. But the thing is, you've got to deal with the past first, haven't you? You've got to take responsibility for why the business failed, etc. And once you've learnt why the business failed, instead of just sweeping it under the carpet and forgetting about all that mess, and then you say, I'm ready for the next business. Well, the next business will probably fail as well because you haven't taken responsibility for the things that went wrong. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Last episode, we were talking about reflecting. So reflecting, it will be like coaching yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
Where is my position? Where did I start last time? Why things went wrong? What did I did wrong? Because I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
And those people that they don't do it is because they think they are right.
Exactly. That was the thing. You remember I was speaking a little while back about when I thought that God had spoken to me and said to me, what percentage are you prepared to take? What percentage responsibility are you prepared to take for the failure of your business? And I said none, because I believed it wasn't my fault. And the question was, well, you take a percentage, because it doesn't matter whether you take 1% or 100%. If you take a percentage, you will change and things will change and you can move on. But if you don't take a percentage, you will never change and you will never take responsibility for what happened.
That's very true. And today I was listening to that. And yesterday and last week, we had the conversation with the problem that I was having with the other guy. Remember?
Yes.
So about integrity, and I was saying that he was treating me bad. And today I was studying for this, and they say that part of your responsibility is to accept that in any situation you have responsibility. You're part of the responsibility.
Yes.
And even though that person was treating me bad, I had the responsibility to manage the situation better. Instead of just judging the guy, he's doing this, he's doing this. Right now, the responsible part is how I'm going to manage this for this situation to change. Because at the end, we have to finish the job properly.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Instead of I just can blame the guy and stop learning because I have the perfect excuse. Oh, he's not teaching me. Yeah. But part of my responsibility is to find a way by the things works.
Yeah.
In somehow.
Yes.
I understand that we need boundaries, we need all of that. But in some point, I changed because when I put the boundaries and all that stuff, I realized that yeah, even though the situation is bad, there is a way to manage this.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, I was frozen. I was like, it's his responsibility. It's his fault.
Mm.
I have no part in this.
Mm.
And it was part, but to be honest, you have responsibility in every situation that
Yeah.
you are in.
Yeah, it's easy
Yeah.
it's easy to blame the other person, isn't that so?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. What we need to do is take responsibility and make it right or get it done, isn't that so? And not concern ourselves with the other person. And most times it's that we want to be right, and it's not about being right or wrong or whatever. It's let's get on with this and get it between us, the two of you, get it right. It's not about his attitude.
And also it's about ownership. I mean, this situation, I understand that I'm part of the situation.
Mm.
Once you understand that it's your responsibility, then you can grow from there.
Mm.
Or either you learn from the situation, or either you improve in your situation, or either you move from the situation. But in all those cases, you are learning.
Mm. Mm.
And being responsible is to get the best from that situation
Yeah.
and move on.
Yeah, and when you get those skills, they never wasted, isn't that so? Because it's not only you won't be with that company for the rest of your life. You'll be in
No,
other
no, I don't
companies,
think so.
and you'll go up the ladder. So you can use what you've used there, what you've learned there, in other situations in the future.
No, and that's true, because right now I think if somebody come and insult me, I will be like, what else do you have? Because I have heard before everything.
You've had the best teacher of the whole lot. Yeah, yeah.
I got the
yeah.
best coach before.
Yeah, and then you'll say, "Is that all you've got?"
Yeah.
You got nothing else. I wanted to tell you a story. This is a true story that happened in Australia some years ago. I read about it, and there was a rich man in Australia, and he had two sons, and they were fairly young, probably teenagers, and they were naughty young guys, and they did some things that were pretty naughty in the eyes of the law, etc. But they did that a couple of times, and each time they did that, he bailed them out. And what I mean by that, he either paid money to get them off, or he got a good lawyer, and he got them off, etc. And so,
Wow, so that was very serious.
yeah, there
stuff.
was some serious stuff.
Yeah.
And that continued, and these two young guys grew up and then got older and older. And then one time, the two of them got into a situation. There was a fight, and one of them somehow had a gun and shot the guy. And I don't know if he killed him or hurt him badly. But what happened then is there was a court case, police and court case, etc. But it got to the point now where the father could not help them anymore because of this court case, etc. He always bailed them out, and they weren't taking responsibility. And now these two young men ended up in jail because as young people, they never learned to be responsible. So that's quite a good story, isn't that so?
But and what do you think, Dave? You have like a great kids. What is the difference between a parent that have good kids and one that not? Is everything on the parents, or what do you think is the environment?
Yeah.
Where is the real responsibility?
I think bringing up kids is not that easy. I think we got to teach them responsibility. I think a lot of credit probably in our family goes to Caroline, because the man is often out working all the time and he's home at night and that, but the wife is there with the kids during the day, after school and all that, and they teach them about responsibility. So I think a lot of it comes down to teaching from the parents. Obviously the school as well. I mean, the schools do a good job today as well. And then there's another side as well. I still do, Caroline and I still do children's church at our church, as you know. And there's that teaching that we do. We do a lesson each week, and that is teaching the kids a whole lot of range of different godly ways, but part of that is also teaching them responsibility. So they have different teachers. They have the father and the mother. I think the father and the mother have got different roles in that, but then there's the school that does teach them as well. There's the church, and there can be other people. It could actually be grandparents today as well that teach the kids, because we have 7 grandkids now, 6 grandsons and 1 granddaughter. So sometimes I think that's a good way of teaching them responsibility as well. It comes from the grandparents as well.
You know that I think it's in Japan that even the neighbors, they are able to discipline your kid, and in the community they allow that, because they understand that is for the good of the community.
Yes, it's the same in Africa. In the African village, they say it takes a whole village to bring up a child. That's what they say. It's in fact, when we were in Uganda now, we are going on some of the back roads, and we saw a lot of the young children early in the morning when it was still quite dark. And these young children, small ones, probably 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, going along the road. And we said to him, to the guys that we were with, it's a bit dangerous at the moment because it's not even light yet and these kids are on the road. And they said it is the responsibility of all the people in the area to look after the children. Isn't that amazing?
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think in Colombia we lost that. We used to be like that, but not anymore. It's like very individualistic. Yeah, and it's dangerous because I think if more people they do it, it's even safer.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I think. What do you think? I think we've probably lost that in Australia as well, isn't that so?
To be honest, sometimes I think sometimes Western countries. Let's see, in United States, I was a little bit skeptical, but one day, where I was living in the community, they released from prison some pedophile people, and they start living on the surroundings, but under the police control.
Right.
And people came together, and they in the whole neighborhood they say, we have now these people around. We have to be together and reinforce,
Right.
just in case. And for me, it was amazing because everybody literally joined forces,
Right.
and they were paying attention to that type of situation, that it was called for an action, no? And so maybe they are a little bit individualistic in their normal life, but maybe as a community and society, when things get real, maybe they come together. Maybe it's the case of Australia as well.
Yeah, exactly. So that could be good, isn't it? So I think it just depends. Maybe not. I know there's certain countries that look at like that, like Africa and Japan you spoke about. But in general, you get in different countries like Australia and other countries, you get people that will act on that and other people who won't, isn't that so? So you get a bit of a difference. But in Africa and, like you said, Japan, the whole community looks after the kids and the teaches them responsibility and that, isn't that so?
Because also that is be responsible. I think everybody have to responsibility to our society and to our community as well.
Yep.
All right, Dave, we will go next with our scripture.
Yeah.
We're going to 1 Timothy 4:12.
Okay, let me just find it. Okay, it's the ESV version. Let no one despise you for your youth, but set the believers an example in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, in purity. Any comment?
That's the bar is too high.
Yeah. Let no one despise you for your youth, but set the believers an example in their speech, in their conduct. So we're coming back to that. In love, in faith, in purity.
So what is the responsibility there, Dave?
Well, let no one despise you for your youth, but set believers, that's us, an example. So we need to set an example for others, isn't that so? In our speech, in our conduct. So, what we're talking about tonight, in love, loving people, in faith, and in purity.
So our responsibility is to be salt.
To be what? Yeah. Oh, salt. Yeah. Salt and light, isn't that so?
Yes.
So other people should see how we live. Yeah.
So part of our responsibility is influence society with our beliefs.
Yes, and our conduct, because it talks about conduct as well, isn't that so? Yeah, and in faith. Yeah, it's good.
All right, Dave. So we move to our last one. How did taking responsibility shape your journey in business, faith, and leadership over the years?
Okay, so I hope I'm going to answer this right, Jhovver. I just found that at a young person that, as you know, I was very shy when I was young, but the desire to be a business person was much stronger in me, so I had to overcome that. So funny enough, you wouldn't think being shy comes with responsibility, but I was so wanted to become a business person and a successful business person that I overcame my shyness and I took on responsibility. and in the different businesses where I started. I mean, one of the responsibilities that I felt that I had when I had the motor business in South Africa, we had 50 staff, we had 4 branches, became quite a big business, but we had 25 Black African staff members, and they would get paid weekly, and the white staff would get paid monthly. And one of the guys said to me, one of my staff said to me, "Hey, Dave, how come you work so hard?" And I said, the reason I work so hard and take responsibility in the business is that I want to make sure that every week when it's time for these Black African people to get their weekly wage that they rely on, that the money is there. And that comes through being responsible in business. If I didn't take the responsibility of making sure that the cash flow was there, and doing the things that I was responsible for, then there wouldn't have been money for these guys, and then I would have been letting them down. It's the same in our business now. I feel I have a responsibility on them to see that each week that their wage is there, that their super is paid, all their entitlements are paid. And when we do that, then we build loyalty with the people that work for us. An example is Luke, who works with us. He started with me at 19. In about, I think, 2 weeks' time, he's been with us in our business for 24 years. So he's 43 and he's been there for 24 years. He started when he was 19. And I think so being responsible and doing that creates loyalty from the people that work for you.
What about faith?
Yeah. Well, faith, you mean Christian faith that you're talking about? Yeah. Well, I'll talk about Christian faith. Well, for me, that was the most important. As we started the business that we're in now, number one came my faith in God. I had to look and say, I think that my level of faith and trust in God and studying the Word and all that is low, and that's why this old business failed. So I had to make sure that Caroline and I had to put God first place in our lives, and we just got involved in the Word of God and praise and worship and prayer and all those things, but to such a big degree. But so the level of faith rose up, and the input into the things of God built the business. So we still had to work hard. We had to use leadership and all these qualities. We had to use all those, but that was backed up, number one, by the Word of God. And what it says that when we put God first place and we put compassion, passion, and truth and honesty into our businesses, into our lives, that's where God gives us favor with Him and man. So faith is very, very important. Yes.
And more the fact that the responsibility in us is through faith try to create, no, to create things, to make things done. So Dave, when you were talking about leadership, business, and faith, I was thinking about the talent of the parable of the talents. And the parable of the talents is a great example of responsibility.
Correct.
Yeah, but every time when I listen to this parable, and it was Jesus telling this, no?
Yeah.
And then when happened with the employee that just give one talent back, and the fact that the owner or the boss says that you wicked and lazy.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like a shocking. This is Jesus, no? This is Jesus, and you will think like Jesus will just talk about the kingdom. He just gonna talk about faith, but how he got so like passionate,
and angry,
about something that is just very like early stuff, like talents and money. Yeah. So what do you think it was that?
Well, the person got given a certain talent, and I think he hid it in the ground, isn't that so? So he took no responsibility. He didn't trade with it like the others did and increase it. He just had, and he made a big excuse, I think, as well. He said, I know that you don't tolerate this and you don't tolerate this and you don't tolerate that. And he made Jesus or the person in the parable out to be a bad person. Meanwhile,
He's a strict
person, and he
strict
just put it in
person,
the
yeah.
ground. And Jesus said to him, "You could at least deposited them that money, the talent, with the money traders, and you could have got some interest at least on that money and given the talent back with some interest. But you were so lazy, you didn't even do that." And he wasn't happy with him, but he was happy with the other two because they doubled. And I can't remember exactly what it says, but in the beginning it says
One was 5 and 10, I think was.
but it says in there in the beginning, it was so much was given to each one according to their own ability. So that means that God gives us all different abilities, because the one was 10, 5, and was it 2 or 1? I think 1 maybe, isn't it so? So the guy at the bottom didn't have a lot of ability. However, he still didn't use that ability that he was given, isn't that so? Where the other two did.
We have a just God, because
Yes.
he was not expecting
Yeah.
that guy was giving thousands. He was expecting to do at least double.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. So in other words, if he gave him 1, he was expecting maybe 2 back, isn't that so?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but he couldn't even do that. So there's a lesson there.
In the lesson of responsibility that I come out, that is actually I learned it today. So if the word is responsibility, so you return to the sponsor the ability or the investment
through your ability, isn't that so?
Through your ability,
you use your ability to make.
Which sponsor is waiting that you return the same? Nobody.
No.
The person that is sponsoring you, like in responsibility, they will expect that you produce fruit from what he is invested or given to you.
Yeah, he's expecting a good return, isn't that so?
Yeah. So God, if God give you a day, He's not expecting a day back. He's expecting what is inside of the day, all that you can produce in a day. So that's what God is waiting for you.
Yeah, exactly. So that's good, yeah.
All right. So, Dave.
So it says, Luke 12:48, everyone to whom much was given, of him much will be required, and from him to whom they entrusted much, they will demand the more. So it sort of goes with the scriptures that you're talking about now, with the talents, isn't that so?
That is perfect.
Yeah.
That actually is one of my main scriptures, and I have that very, very clear for me.
Is it? Yeah.
Because sometimes I was thinking, why I haven't done this, why I haven't done this, but sometimes I give myself a little bit of
smack around the ears, they call it.
No, not really, because I was very harsh with myself. But then I realized my starting point, it was not the best.
Okay.
Yeah, and I still was able to accomplish something. But I was comparing myself with other people that their starting point was different. And I said, come on, maybe like compared to them, maybe I will do better.
Yeah. In other words, you're saying don't be too hard on yourself.
In this case, because when you have little and produce a lot, that says a lot about you. But when you have a lot and you produce the minimum, that also says about you.
Yeah, 100%.
That's why, let's see, most of the kids from Hollywood stars, some of them are frustrated parents because they expect that with all the opportunities, all with the best schools, with the best studies, with the best skills, and they still are not able to create their own life.
Yeah, and they're not achievers, isn't that so? Because I think what happens often, people who have, not always only people who have money, but people who have money feel that they want to make life easier for their children by helping them and giving them things and all that type of stuff. But that is not what makes good children or good adults, isn't that so? It's giving character, giving them things, but not too much. And you got to let them discover and find their own drive in life. Because if you keep giving them things, one day when the money runs out or you're not there anymore, what is going to happen to that child? They're not going to be able to cope because they've never done the hard yards. They've never learned to be responsible for anything really in their lives. So life doesn't work. So the parents, those parents feel that they're doing a service to their children or doing a good thing for their children. But what they're really doing is a disservice for their family, for their children.
And Dave, one thing that I hear a lot from rich people is that how can I teach my kid to be hungry, the drive? How did you do that with Dove? Because Dove, he looks like a very driven person.
Yeah, I think, just a small thing from a young age, with all of our children, with the two girls and Dov, we'd go out somewhere and we were going to buy ice creams or buy some stuff thing. And I'd say to the children, okay, here's some money. You go and order it. So it was teaching them, even at a young age, maybe 6, 8 years old, you go and order it, pay for it, get the change, and make sure that you bring me the right change and show me that you've got the right change. So we started teaching them different ways at a young age, how to do things, how to be responsible as well, bring the change back, etc. Check that they got the right change, and just slowly teaching them different ways. And I think one thing that Dav even says today, he said, I learned from my dad. He said, I saw my dad every single day get up early, get in his car and go to work hard, and then come back in the evening again. So what it is, it's not so much what we say to our children always, it's what we do and how we teach them by the way we do things.
All right. But let's see the Jackie Chan son. He saw Jackie Chan in movies working hard, and he still didn't.
Yeah.
I don't think how he's now is his son now, but in that moment, it was not the best.
He was not the best, yeah. Well, see, there's another example as well, is that sometimes the parents are working, the mom and the dad are working such long hours, right? They may have a lot of money, they may be in business, but they're working a long hours, and the children are left with the nanny or a minder or somebody like that. And the children need their parents there to teach them as well. Isn't that so?
I think a lot of people think that the main responsibility of parenting is just provision and that's it.
100%. Yeah.
And that's not the truth.
Yeah.
I guess maybe Jackie Chan was everywhere, but he never was present in his kids' life.
I think you get a lot of that, isn't that so? And then they wonder why the children don't work out, because they've tried to buy their love and that through money and things, but that's not the answer as well, isn't that so?
Yeah.
I mean,
they're just spoiling them. Yeah.
All of our children at one stage when they were younger, and then at university, at school and at university, came and worked in our business doing different things, just in the beginning, just menial tasks and earning money and all of them complained today, all three of them complained that I underpaid them, but I don't think that was true. But
I will do the same. I will do the same. I will take 70% for the ATO.
And all of our, especially Dav says to me, he says, Dad, you were hard on me than you were on the other staff. And I always felt that if I want my son or my children to do well, not to be too tough on them, you know what I mean? But they need to learn the right way. You know, it's like if your son works for you in the business or something, you don't start him middle management and then he goes up and up and up. I started all of our children, especially Dav, in the business, right at the bottom, and he's worked his way up, and now he's the CEO, he runs the business, but he knows everything about the business, and in the beginning he wasn't earning good money, and now he does, and he's gone up the line. So I think sometimes holding them, it's not being unkind or anything like that, but teaching them the lessons in life and teaching them to have respect for the other staff as well, that have been there a lot longer than them. You know, it's no use just promoting them above other people when they're still young. I kept him down, and now he runs a business, and he's one of the youngest in the business, but he's learned the right way, and he's got respect for the other people, and the people in the company have got respect for him as well.
And Dave, what do you think about the scripture that we just read? What do you think from your own perspective? My perspective was that some people, they are giving like a great start, and we expected more from them.
Yeah.
I remember Donald Trump, he said, I start very low. And then somebody said, he start with $8 million. That's not zero.
Yeah, no, to me that's a good start, isn't that so?
Yeah, that's a great start.
When we started our business now, we started with consignment stock, and that's all we had. And then they gave us more consignment stock, and then eventually we went on to buying from them and paid them back. And now it's 30, this year, this business now is 30 years now. But I promise you, Jhovver, we have never, ever borrowed any money from the bank. We've actually built the whole business and the stock and the whole business on profits. As we made profits, we plowed it back into the business. But now, and also we keep a lot of cash in our business, good cash flow. But once that's established, then the business rolls and it gets bigger. And that's when you can start taking out some money out of the business to live or to buy things or whatever. But in the beginning, you've got to keep putting back, isn't that so? And
But Dave, why everybody say that that debt is good
oh,
and
debt.
more playing with the
Yeah, yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. I think some debt that you've got to have, if you buy a warehouse, if you want to buy a warehouse for your business, or if you want to buy a house for yourself, I mean, you've got to, these days, you've got to have a mortgage, isn't that so? Debt. But it depends what type of debt it is. So there could be a debt that you've incurred, or you've gone out and bought a fancy Mercedes or BMW or Porsche for your car. And I've never done that. I've just always driven normal cars. We always had Camrys, and then we had Mazdas, and now just bought a Honda. And you know, you don't get into debt for those type of things. Does that make sense? You can have debt for different machinery or something in your business that's benefiting your business to make more money. But don't invest it in a depreciating asset like a motor car or something like that. And also, you got to cut your cloth according. In the beginning, we didn't pay ourselves a lot of money, as a wage. Build your business first, and once the business is established and is rolling and doing well, then you can take an increase in that type of stuff. Yeah.
So talking about responsibility as an entrepreneur or as a businessman, part of the responsibility is to live under your means, no?
Correct.
You just cannot just start getting some profit and immediately go and buy a penthouse
No.
and buy a Lamborghini, and then your lifestyle increase, but your income still growing.
Yeah. Well, once you get the nice car, then you want the bigger house, isn't that so? And then the furniture, and then the friends, and then it's the holidays and this and that. And when you look again, you're earning good money, but you're spending all of it, isn't that so? And I think one thing I've learned through our old business is failing and that type of stuff is that you need good cash flow in your business. You need to build your business really, really strong. So if times come like the GFC, which was the global financial crisis, if there's a recession, even at the time now that we're living in now with the petrol crisis and the war and all that type of stuff, we've got to make sure that when these times come and things get tough, that we can go through those things without our business failing. And that's the name of the game in this time now, is having good cash flow in your business.
Dave, final question.
Yeah.
So I think the responsibility is in everything.
Correct.
But sometimes I hear people, they say, you don't own anything to your parents. Sometimes people say to that. And to be honest, I don't think so, because we own them to be better than them, as like for the minimum, no?
Yeah.
To do better than them, to be better. The second generation have to be better than the first one.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So we have responsibility in every single aspect in our life, with our parents, with our siblings, with our studies, with our own life.
To other people.
Yeah. So the responsibility, I think, is a way of living almost.
Yeah. It covers everything. And I think the Bible says, honor your mother and your father, isn't that so? And I think when you think, I know you've told me some of your story, some of my story, but I really need to honor my mom and dad. And I know you honor your mom and dad. My mom and dad aren't alive anymore, but yours are. And you've got a good relationship now with your mom and dad. And that's on, you speak to them for a couple of hours every Saturday, and that's so good. And I know that your dad just waits for that call, isn't that so? So we need to honor them. But I think what you're saying is, number one, we need to honor them. That is the big one, okay? But like you're saying, responsibility is honoring everything and everybody, isn't that so? We've got to honor the people that work for us, the people that do well. our suppliers. The list just goes on and on, isn't that so?
So, as a conclusion today, one step to take responsibility is to honor everything in your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Honor your life, honor your faith, honor your family, honor your friends. And when you honor all of that, it means that you have to take action,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
nothing is going to happen if you don't take action
yeah,
and work for that.
yeah. And also, probably the first one that we need to honor is God, isn't that so?
Sure.
For number one, giving us life, the life that we have. I used to think, how come I was born in South Africa, but I was born as a white person in a privileged position? Does that make sense? I could have been born in South Africa as a black person and had a terrible life. Well, okay. And then I thought, okay, there's a reason that I was born as a white person in Africa, right? And the reason was that I could then help others, because it's not for me to be privileged and build up as much money as I can for myself and my family or whatever, and just spend it on myself. We've got to honor and bless other people. So I must go and I must help people in that nation and other nations of the world. Or it's not only about black and white, it's about poor people, people who are battling, isn't that so? There's a responsibility. God's given us the talents, as we spoke about, and we've multiplied those talents, and now is to take part of those talents, number one, and give back to others and help others. That's why God has lifted us up, isn't that so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as a final thought, we can say let's honor life,
Mm.
and let's honor life, living life as fully,
Yeah.
and producing the best fruit that we can produce, helping people and serving each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah, and be responsible.
Yeah.
So this is the scripture we just read, and it's relevant. Everyone to whom much was given, so we've been given much in this life, of him much will be required. So God requires of us, and from him to whom they entrusted much, they will demand the more. So we've been in a privileged position in this nation, etc., but it's not actually just to accumulate whatever it is for ourselves, it's to actually help other people.
That's very true. All right, Dave.
Thanks, Hover.
The main take from this episode is the take action, no? Yeah, and because there is a lot of things to do, and the responsible thing to do is to take action and to try to help fixing all those problems.
Yeah, exactly. And I think God has given us so much, and God has got so much more in life for each one of us than we realize. And we've got to take a responsibility, which you spoke about, and lift ourselves up so that we can increase and we can help other people. I think the main thing is that we're here to actually help other people. And that's what we do, isn't it, Sahaba?
All right, Dave.
Are you praying tonight?
All right. All
Good.
right. I
Thanks.
pray tonight.
Okay, thanks, Ova. Thanks for tonight.
All right.
Thanks for tonight.
No, thank you, Dave. Thanks for everything. Okay, let's pray. Thank you, guys, for this episode. We just have a great conversation talking about responsibility, talking about taking action. That's the main take from this episode. Because once we take action for the good, we start honoring people, honoring life, honoring our families, honoring our talents and gifts, honoring God with faith, and all these come from the good of society, community, because at the end it's not all about us. It's about what we can pass to others. It's about the heritage. It's about all that we can do good in this life. At the same time, with responsibility, we're gonna build great character. You know that responsibility is not just that word, no, it comes from a foundation of a lot of things like stewardship, being firm, trustworthiness, and all that stuff that is created by character, by good principles, family values. So my prayer is that every single person take responsibility of their life, take action for their dreams, for the families and duties that we have, and let's honor God with our talents and our gifts. So we pray in the name of Jesus, and we hope all of us we can start doing better. Amen.
Well done. Thanks. And Jhovver, thank you for taking the responsibility of running this podcast and doing all the editing and all that, because if you didn't take the responsibility, it wouldn't get done and it wouldn't get loaded and we wouldn't be here. Isn't that so? So you've taken a lot of responsibility. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm doing my part, but you're doing a great job, Dave, as well. Because you come with the wisdom, with the knowledge, and you back me up with so much good information, and you bring a lot of value to our audience. So here, we're both responsible.
Yeah.
You're responsible to pass all that you are,
Yeah.
and I'm responsible to be a mean
Yeah. So
to give the message.
So we make a good couple. We make a good
team.
A good team, isn't that so? Thanks.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, because you have so much value.
Thanks.
And I'm able to help you, and I'm here also teachable and very
but you're
willing
also,
to learn. No,
you're also teaching as well all the time, so it's good. Well done. Because
I'm just learning from you.
Well, you got a lot. No, but you got a lot of experience. So like we were talking tonight
as well.
about,
Sometimes,
responsibility. How you told that from a young age. You just had to accept responsibility for certain things, and where I didn't have to, that wasn't good for me. So it just shows that taking responsibility is a great thing, isn't that so?
It is. Yeah.
It builds us and builds our character and our ability and all these things as well. In other words, it's good to be not forced into, but in a way forced into taking responsibility, because what that does, it grows us and we become much better human beings at the end of the day.
And at the end of the day, Dave, we have no option. The only option is to take responsibility.
100%. Yeah.
There is no other way around. It's the only way.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's basically failure, isn't it? So
if we don't take responsibility, in certain point, we're gonna face consequences.
So I suppose the question is tonight, as we finish, what areas are you called to, and am I called to, and the people listening, to take a greater level of responsibility in their lives? Isn't that so?
Being accountable and start
I think
taking action.
I think it's for all of us. There's another level of responsibility, isn't that so? That we can move into. So it's good.
All right, Dave.
Thanks,
so
Jhovver.
thank you so much.
Thanks.
So thank you guys. We hope you enjoyed this conversation. Please give a like, thumbs up, and we will see you in the next episode.
Thanks, Jhovver.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Jhovver.
Okay, guys, if you like this genuine conversation between a mentor and his student, then you are in the right place. This journey is about wisdom earned through real life, business, faith, mistakes, growth, and responsibility. Alongside my mentor Dave, a successful businessman with decades of experience, we are opening honest conversations that go deeper than motivation and surface level advice. If you value truth, character, and long-term success, jump on board and walk with this path with us. Please subscribe, press the like button, hit the notification bell, and follow us as we learn, grow, and pursue wisdom together. If you like this genuine conversation, so join us, vámonos, and let's do it.